So, welcome to BeWordLit. We'll be rereading half of page 45, and I will post pictures of the maps in the comments. And we're going to read page 47. Let me just jump right in here. Alexander the Great. All right. He died in 323 BC, and his let me actually back up one more sentence, sorry, so that it makes more sense. To avenge the desecration of the temple of Athena, Alexander pushed eastward to establish the rule of Greek civilization in what was formerly Persia's domain. He died in 323 BC, and it was left to his military successors, called the Diadochi, to fight bitterly among themselves as they carved up his empire. Antigonus Cyclops seized the whole of Asia Minor, including Syria and Palestine. Ptolemy took Egypt and North Africa, and Seleucus Nicator took the enormous territory stretching from Mesopotamia eastward to India. Others took smaller, insignificant portions. In 301 BC, at the Battle of Ipsus, Antigonus was defeated, and his territory was added, basically, to that of Seleucus, who founded the city of Antioch in Syria in 300 BC and made it his capital. Meanwhile, Ptolemy had gained control of the Holy Land to the south of Syria. This set the stage for the bitter struggles over Palestine that raged until Roman military might made its presence felt there about 100 years later. In 198 BC, Antiochus III the Great, ruler of the Syrian (Seleucid) Empire, defeated his Ptolemaic rival at the Battle of Panias and annexed Palestine to his territory. Later, at Magnesia in Greece, Antiochus was defeated by Scipio. I googled it. Later at Magnesia in Greece, Antiochus was defeated by Scipio of Rome. The destiny of the region passed into Roman hands for the next 500 years. Antiochus IV, also known as Epiphanes, was allowed by Rome to become the ruler of the Seleucid Empire in 175 BC. He set about to Hellenize (force Greek ways on) all of his territory. This included the worship of the Greek god Zeus, the Roman Jupiter. A series of outrages over 2 years, including murder, treachery, the ravaging of Jerusalem, and the establishment of a pagan citadel in Jerusalem called the Acra, finally culminated in the establishment of an altar to Zeus in the temple. Swine's flesh was offered there in December 167 BC. References include 1 Maccabees 154 and 59. Also 2 Maccabees 6:2. Daniel had mentioned this sacrilege earlier in his prophecy. See Daniel 11:31, as well as Matthew 24:15. Now, for the Maccabean Hasmonean period, our next portion, 166 to 63 BC. In the small town of Modin, about 17 miles northwest of Jerusalem, an aged priest named Mattathias resisted Antiochus's attempt to force pagan worship on all of Israel by killing the king's representative. See 1 Maccabees chapter 2, verse 19 to 26. He then fled into the hills with his 5 sons, John, Simon, Judas, Eleazar, and Jonathan. From there, with the help of the Hasidim, a group of pious warriors, they waged war against the Syrians. Leadership was exercised by this family, called the Hasmoneans, for the next 103 years until Pompey conquered Jerusalem in 63 BC. Mattathias died shortly after the revolt started. His son Judas, parentheses nicknamed Maccabeus, probably meaning the hammer, assumed leadership of the revolt. After defeating the Syrians at Emos, parentheses 166/65 BC, and Beth Zur, parentheses 165/64 BC, the Temple Mount was cleansed and rededicated on Kislev 25, 164 BC. 3 years after it had been desecrated by Antiochus. The celebration lasted 8 days and became known as the Feast of Dedication or of Lights, present-day Hanukkah, because the lamps in the temple were relit. See John 10:22. Judas won yet another decisive victory against the Syrian general Nicanor in 161 BC, but was then killed in battle near Elasa that same year by the Syrian Bacchides. I didn't Google those last 3 names, so I don't know if I said them right. Bacchides returned to Syria, and an uneasy peace prevailed, despite sporadic civil unrest. Jonathan, Judas's brother, assumed leadership and extended his authority to numerous areas of Palestine. Jonathan was wise enough to reestablish relations with Rome, but in the end was foolish enough to trust a Syrian general named Trypho, who massacred 1,000 of his unsuspecting troops, and eventually Jonathan himself in 142 BC, parentheses, see 1 Maccabees 12, verse 46 to 48, and chapter 13, verses 20 to 24. Simon followed Jonathan as leader from 142 BC until his death in 135/34 BC. Things were relatively calm. He reestablished peace in the land, and Israel rejoiced with great joy. Each man sat under his vine and fig tree. Can't think about that without singing it in my head now. Each man sat under his vine and fig tree, and there was none to make them afraid. No one was left in the land to fight them, and the kings were crushed in those days. He strengthened all the humble of his people. He sought out the law and did away with every lawless and wicked man. That is from 1 Maccabees chapter 14, 11 through 14. The people were so grateful to Simon that they bestowed the high priesthood on him and his family in perpetuity. Thus was founded the Hasmonean dynasty of priesthood. Simon also renewed his alliance with Rome, which no doubt strengthened his position against Syrian attack. How are my minutes? I'm above 7 minutes. I think that's a good place to stop. Tomorrow we will read more from page 48 about Simon's son, John Hyrcanus I, 135-34 BC. Again, the book that I'm using is called Encountering the New Testament. It is a New Testament survey or intro to New Testament book, freshman college level, and we're on page 48, Hasmonean Dynasty portion. So let's see what it says tomorrow. Later. Bye. Adios.